I'd like to call the 7 o'clock City Council regular meeting to order on November 18th, 2014. Pledge of allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Middleton?
Here.
Council President Henderson?
Here.
Sorry. Councilor Grant?
Here.
Councilor Butterfield?
Here.
Councilor Langer?
Here.
Councilor Clark? Here. Thank you.
Did I have any requests for more agenda items on here?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I would like to move that we add an agenda item to item 7, new business, appointment of a new counselor to fill the position vacated by Councilor Folsom. Second.
All in favor?
I have one more.
Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to know if we'd be willing to move YSAT off consent under new business and just talk about that a little bit. So that's item C under consent. Move to new business, please.
Okay.
Or that's what I'm.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye. So are we voting on both?
We did want to do, I thought we just did one on the appointment first, and then this, we didn't do one on the appointment? Oh, okay. New business, the appointment of a new council member. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, now, we're going to do the consent agenda, which will be the approval of October 20.
Did we get the YSAT?
Oh, we got to do the resolutions. Remove resolution. We're pulling resolution 2014-069, authorizing the city manager to sign the intergovernmental agreement with Washington County and the school district to formally establish the Sherwood Youth Substance Abuse Team. So that would go under new business. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Opposed? None.
Thank you.
Now we've got the consent agenda, which is big. Approval of the October 21st, 2014 City Council meeting minutes. Resolution 2014-048, authorizing the city manager to execute an amendment to the construction excise tax intergovernmental agreement between Metro and the city of Sherwood. Resolution 2014-070, appointing Colin K. Woodbury to the Library Advisory Board. Resolution 2014-071, authorizing the city manager to take action necessary for accepting the State of Oregon Department of Transportation's request to transfer state road right-of-way approximately 300-foot segment of Southwest Langer Drive into city jurisdiction and maintenance control. Resolution 2014-072, accepting tax lot 2S132CA01151 as part of Schaumburg right-of-way. Resolution G 2014-074 of the City of Sherwood, authorizing the city manager to execute an amendment to the intergovernmental agreement between the City of Sherwood and the City of Wilsonville regarding cost, construction, ownership, and operation of Segment 3B of the water transmission line between Sherwood and Wilsonville.
I'll move consent.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, under new business.
No citizen comment.
Citizen comment.
Citizen comment.
Oh, I did have, yeah, I'm having a citizen comments first, and then I think we have it again. We'll have the ones we know that are going to come up for the resolution, the Area 59. We'll hold off and we'll have those under the Area 59 section. So I only have one. Oh, we got a whole stack. Okay. Naomi Brewer.
Good evening. I wanted to congratulate Christina, Mayor-elect, your wonderful campaign, and we're so happy and proud of you. And thank you, Mayor Bill, for organizing the wonderful Veterans Day celebration. I was wondering why none of the other counselors were there, but thank you, Christina Clark, for coming. and for Mayor Bill. It was just a fantastic celebration, and it was good. I like to bring my kids every year, not only to honor our veterans, but also to put a face on war, and I thought it was just superbly done. So thank you.
And Kristen worked really hard on that too, so I don't think she's here tonight.
And Rosie's Cafe did that.
Right, Roses
fantastic
did a great
coffee.
job.
It was
Yeah,
great.
it was nice.
Oh, and I wanted to thank all of the many, many people who helped with Mayor-elect Christina's Clark's campaign. I noticed that there are now 747 new registered voters in Sherwood, so our Saturday outreach was wonderful, and thank you. That was one thing that we were trying very hard to do, to involve as many citizens here in the voting electoral process as possible. So thank you. And I also wanted to ask, I'm one of 3 candidates waiting to be interviewed by the City Council. I did receive notice of 2 other interview dates to fill Robin Folsom's position on council. And I have notified Sylvia and Joe Gall about my availability next Saturday. So I'm looking forward to the interview. And I hope you'll interview not only myself, but Dean Boswell and Nancy Taylor, all 3 of us who are still waiting to be interviewed. Because it's my understanding that you have several more before you go and try to appoint anybody. And I don't see the rush. You know, the election is not even certified yet officially by Washington County until November 24th. So it makes sense to me. There's no huge rush. There's no pending business that we need to take care of. I think you should allow all of the interested residents to interview and not rush the process. I guess that's it. I just wanted to make to know from Henderson if all of her accounting is up to date on her Orstar account, because as a citizen, I'm interested in knowing who her donors are and what her expenses were, and that's something I'd love to hear from you directly. Thank you.
Did we have that on the council agenda to have a Saturday meeting coming up? Was it on the notice that we had?
The Saturday the 22nd?
Yeah.
No, the Saturday the 22nd meeting has not been determined by the council, and it has not been noticed.
Too late to notice? It would have to be 2 weeks out, or could you know?
No, you need a 24-hour
Oh, is that all?
for a work session, so that's the minimum. that you
Okay.
need.
Well, I like to make a motion in all fairness that we do extend it, and so we can interview the last 3 candidates, and there is no real hurry. We could bring this up even during our, we could have a special meeting during our commissioner meeting thing, right, and make the appointment. Then it would only stall it by about 2 weeks, and that's all. And they're not going to be seated until the next meeting anyway. So I think in the fairness, and the election's not even certified yet, I don't see the big rush.
I'll second that motion.
So Mayor, just to clarify, your motion is to hold a special council meeting on December the 2nd, a work session to conduct interviews of the remainder of the applicants. Is that correct?
Correct, and that'd be their last opportunity, because it seems like it kind of came up on us, and we had both had commitments on Saturday. So if we could just extend it one more time and make sure we do it the right way, the way the public expects us to do it, and that is to interview all the candidates.
Okay, so for a work session on the 22nd, do you want to propose a time or leave that up to the candidates?
We could do the same time as before. What was it, 10?
10 a.m.
10 a.m.? Take about an hour.
10 a.m. on the 22nd. Okay, so we have a motion and a second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Motion failed.
Want to have discussion on the motion so the public knows why? Because we've been going through this process already for 6 or 7 weeks. The candidates all had plenty of notice. They were unresponsive to Sylvia. All the ones that wanted to get interviewed got interviewed, and plenty of them clearly were just trying to delay and manipulate the system, and that's what you see going on right here, is just trying to manipulate the system. They had all kinds of opportunities to show up. We set up extra meetings for them, and they were unresponsive. Some of them were even in town, seen around town before and after the interviews, and chose not to participate in the interviews, and now they're sitting here asking for a chance to be interviewed. So just wanted the public to know that they're watching clear manipulation of the system and nothing else.
I agree. I
So that's
feel
why
like
we voted no.
we've been gamed, and it's disrespectful to the citizens how it's gone out, and it's time to put an end to that. It's just poor behavior, and we shouldn't reward it.
Yeah, I know. Okay, let's just move on.
Mayor, I just want to say that I won't be in town that weekend anyway.
I think that's Civil War Saturday, isn't it? Probably a lot of people won't be. Yeah, I think she's done, isn't she?
No, you
We're done with citizen comment.
Just in all fairness, to explain, it was my understanding that the first interview that I was invited to on Wednesday was canceled. One of our counselors, Matt Langer, was out elk hunting, from my understanding. The next one, I was given 3 days' notice.
But I was available
and,
on the phone. I would listen to you.
Please
You just
don't
And-
interrupt. You're
show up.
okay. Let's just try and be
And
civil
the second
here.
interview that I was invited to, I was given 3 days' notice, and I did say to Sylvia that I need a little bit more time to arrange childcare. I also was at the Tree for All tree planting at that time, so thank you.
Tony Bevel. I think I won one.
Anthony Bevel, Sherwood, 16 years in Sherwood. It's my recollection when we opened this process for appointing a new counselor that everyone would be given a chance. I was given a chance. Thank you for that. But I also recollect that when the process first started, that it started and then I received notice from Sylvia. It was days that, not a week, that make myself or the other candidates available for this meeting to appoint a new counselor or interview. So the process started long ago, yes, when we first came up with this, but for notifying the candidates or whoever wanted to join and be interviewed, it was a short period of time, a week. And I responded, and so I accommodated that, but there are people who it just doesn't fit in their schedule. So from the time that Sylvia notified to the time that, hey, you have these dates, it was less than a week. Thank you.
I have one more. Sue Hecker.
Sue, is that for Area 59?
No, it's,
I just want to make sure, so.
Yeah.
No, actually, believe it or not, it's not for Area 59, and I'm not upset about any of that. I don't want any of your spots. I'm actually here tonight with some coaching on behalf of my friend Bill Butterfield. He reminded me of all the great things that the city has done with the school district some time ago. So I've been meaning to come and publicly thank all of you. My timing's probably a little funny, but I really want to thank you for being great partners, whether it's YSAT or the IGAs or Lights on the Field, all of those things. Having a liaison to the school board, it's just been fantastic. And I know that because of those relationships, Sherwood's a better place, and it's benefited all of us. And it's been a really great thing, I think, for the taxpayers and their dollars. So thank you for all of what you guys do. I know sometimes it's not a very thankful position, so I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think I have one more coming up. Go ahead.
Lori Randall, Sherwood resident. I just want to say that I think it's kind of sad that the outgoing people, you clearly have an agenda about who you want to put into the open slot. You push through this whole process, and I think it's incredibly unfair that you do not allow everybody to interview, especially when they were set up and their appointments were canceled. I think that is just a really despicable way to go out. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our first new business will be the YSAT. And that'll be Council President
Chief?
Henderson? Yeah.
Maybe for the audience's clarification, can you explain what YSAT is, since they probably don't have a packet in front of them and may not be familiar with that program, please?
Sure. I'll just go through the staff report. Thank you, Mayor, Council. The issue before us tonight is, should the City Council authorize the City Manager to sign an intergovernmental agreement with Washington County and the Sherwood School District to establish formally the Youth Substance Abuse Team. Over approximately the last 2 years, a lot of groundwork has been laid, a lot of work has been done for the creation of a Sherwood Youth Substance Abuse Team that would be a referral point and a first stop place for young people in Sherwood that find themselves involved with substance abuse of some kind or another. It's specific to substance abuse. And the program that's been developed and put together that we term YSAT will address the problem of youth substance abuse in Sherwood. And over the course of these 2 years, there's had a couple different city council updates. We've, through work sessions and different conversations. In addition to that, Councilor Langer has served as a liaison through some of the work processes, as has Board Chair Sue Hecker from the school district. So what the IGA will accomplish is it will formalize the partnership between the City of Sherwood, the Police Department, Sherwood School District, and Washington County Juvenile Department in addressing youth substance abuse in Sherwood. It will establish YSAT as an authorized diversion program, and that is a very important designation. That is, they have to be authorized. A diversion program has to be authorized by the Washington County Juvenile Department or a county juvenile department, and so it establishes that under state law. And then finally, the IGA will provide financial assistance from the City of Sherwood to the Sherwood School District for administrative coordination. The school district has agreed to provide some of their administrative staff to help coordinate the just the functions of receiving referrals and processing the paperwork and so on. There will be other people that will be involved with actually managing the program. That will be a partnership between the district and the city. So because of that, the financial impacts before you is $20,000 will be provided annually from the City of Sherwood to the Sherwood School District for the reimbursement of administrative assistance to support YSAT. This amount is currently not budgeted in our 14-15 budget, but will be included as a request in the mid-fiscal year supplemental budget in December of 2014. So we have been working on this for so long, and there is so much stuff swirling through my head. I don't know that I could succinctly give you a synopsis, but this is really what started out as a vision 2 years ago to establish a program that would make a difference in the lives of the young people in Sherwood that are dealing with substance abuse. The point of our work is to create a system that would help kids. The three entities involved all over the course of the last several years have seen increases in their data, their numbers. What I mean by that is the Sherwood Police Department continues to arrest more kids on an annual basis. The school district continues to send more kids home from school because of substance abuse on an annual basis. And the Washington County Juvenile Department continues to see or have more referrals annually. It's just an upward increase. And so as we sat back and looked at that, we thought, we're all doing our job really well, and we're not making an impact. So let's find something different and put together a program that will make an impact for our young people, so that they have the freedom to ask for help. Parents have the freedom to ask for help, and it's going to be based on help, not on sanctions. So that's essentially what YSAT is all about. Certainly be glad to answer any specific questions.
How is YSAT unique to either Sherwood or other districts who have relationships with their local police departments? Or is it a model that we flattered somebody on and adopted, I guess?
Well, the model that we're using, what YSAT looks like, we, rather than reinvent the wheel, we borrowed components from several different successful programs. But as far as I know, sitting before you today, that's certainly, obviously, somebody can prove me wrong, but as far as I know tonight, there is nothing like YSAT active anywhere that we've been able to discover. It is a very unique partnership, and what makes it unique is not so much the partnerships, although that's certainly important. What makes it unique is it's focused completely on substance abuse. You look at a lot of other programs like a Pure Court, what it deals with kind of, is more general and can deal with a gamut of issues. This deals specifically with substance abuse. It is really a Sherwood-based, homegrown solution to a Sherwood-based, homegrown set of issues that we have here. So I hope that answers your question.
So going forward, if a youth has a substance abuse issue or has concerns about substance abuse in schools, I guess I'm wondering, how will it be communicated to students or made available through the school district so that kids know that this is a resource and it's something to help, it's not something to condemn or just send into the juvie system?
So that's going to take place through marketing, and the way YSAT is a referral-based program, so the referral can come from anywhere. If law enforcement comes in contact with somebody who gets in trouble, they can refer into YSAT. It's designed for first-time offenses, so those referrals can come, like I said, from law enforcement. If the school encounters somebody that they caught or they get information about, they can refer somebody into. Parents can call, which, as you know, parents, or you may or may not know, we on occasion do get a call from parents to say, hey, I just on a hunch I looked and I found, drugs in my child's dresser drawer. What do I do? And they're calling for help. They're not calling to hear us say, oh, we'll be right down there and bust the guy.
Right.
And so parents can refer. The key component, or one of the most important things about YSAT, is that it really encourages self-reporting. We wanted to build a system where young people could say, hey, you know what, there was this party this weekend in one scenario, and could come forward to somebody from the police department. They could come forward to a parent, a friend, the school, somebody in the school, and say, I was at a party this weekend, and it whatever happened, and I want to get involved in YSAT, or I need help, or whatever the case may be. So it really encourages self-reporting, and it greatly minimizes the sanctions that a student would face even through school. So, but it's really going to come down to marketing and word of mouth, and that's going to be the next step that we're going to engage in. The next component of the big picture for YSAT is going to be a community coalition, community building, community messaging, talking about good social norms, and motivating and getting everybody in the community, parents and community leaders alike, to really kind of get behind helping kids and being clean and drug-free.
Under your description of the goals and strategies, it says creating a single point of access and referral. When you're talking about the marketing, would that be listed that you would have like posters that say, if you're struggling with drug use and want help, call this? Are you setting up a number or a person, or how is that going to work?
A series of people, a series of access points. Again, like I said, it can come through. The young person could go to any number of different places, and that would get him connected with YSAT and make the referral. And then once that happens, the coordinator would then engage with the family and talk about the program. It's a voluntary program, so they would have to agree to go into the program. We develop a contract and follow the young person through the contract to get them the help they needed. So, yeah, there's not, at this point, there's not any plans to have, a 1-800 number, but it's just multiple points of referral. They can go to somebody they trust in the school. They can go to an adult they trust, and so it's going to be obviously important for us to get it out there so people know when they get that information, this is who we call. And of course, if they call the school and say, hey, are there any resources, the school's going to say, yeah, we have YSAT. If they call the police or they're under resources, I mean, they call the juvenile department. We have those key partners involved. So really, anybody they call is going to know to get them dialed in with us.
Okay, I would just like to thank the chief and the school district in Washington County for having vision to create this, because I'm a firm believer that if you don't have vision, then communities falter, and I think that that this will provide a level of intervention and education that doesn't currently exist, except on a case-by-case basis, and I think our community will benefit, schools will benefit, businesses will benefit, and neighborhoods will benefit. So looking forward to seeing some of the outcomes. You have some goals in there about reducing kids who have more than one offense, and goals about decreasing substance abuse rate in our youth based on the Oregon Healthy Kids Survey. And so I'll be looking forward to seeing how these efforts are measured, and appreciate all the work that you've done, this district has done, and Washington County. So thank you, Chief.
I'd like to thank Linda, too, because she's been heavily involved since it started, and Bill Butterfield. If we didn't have such good relations to the schools, this never would have happened. And there are other districts that don't get along. I know that for a fact. So everybody did a great job in this, and thank you.
Oh, sure. I'll let me get back to my motion page. I'd like to move we adopt Resolution 2014-069, authorizing the city manager to sign an intergovernmental agreement, or IGA, with Washington County, the Sherwood School District, and the Sherwood School District to formally establish the Sherwood Youth Substance Abuse Team.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. All right, the next new business is the appointment of a new council member.
Mayor, if I may, I would suggest that since some people did finally express they wanted to be interviewed, and although we've publicly stated that we were going to do this, and I think some of them are here, I would invite them to come and talk to us if they'd like about why they would like to be on council. The interviews that we had, although not all counselors were there, they went about 20 minutes or so, and so it was a 20-minute commitment that we were asking people to make. We gave them ample opportunity, but there's ample opportunity tonight if people would like to talk to us. We told everybody we're going to do this.
Sure,
they
that
didn't
sounds
want to
good.
come then, but if they want to talk now, I'm absolutely open to it.
Come on up. Who would start with Naomi? Did you want to do it, Nancy? No. Who else in the audience is? There was one other.
I think there are three.
Is Dean here?
Yeah, I'll just let you know I'm not interested in doing it tonight. I think that we need time to prepare. I need time to look over the previous the last night's session, and that's a lot to ask of us. And it's your lack of notice that's a problem here. The first day we were given 1 day's notice, and now the next time 3 days, and now you're giving us 2 minutes? No, that's not okay.
All right, Thank you.
So I have a question for Sylvia. So when we noticed this 6 weeks ago, at the bottom of the application, there was a date in which applicants could put available or not available.
Correct.
And so that was 6 weeks ago, right?
There were actually 3 dates proposed by the council,
So,
as discussed at your meeting that evening on October the 7th.
so it was Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday,
Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday.
and Wednesday was canceled, and we added Monday.
Correct.
Okay. So 2 of the dates were noticed 6 weeks ago.
No, the dates were not noticed 6 weeks ago. They were not noticed right at the beginning. The dates were noted on the application.
Okay, so when they filled out the application, they indicated what dates they were available.
Correct.
And so those dates, they turned in the application 3 weeks ago. 27th?
I'd have to look at
I
the
think the
application to
27th was
see
the date. I'm just trying to
deadline
clarify based on.
27th October was the deadline.
Yeah. So,
So they had at least a couple weeks to be aware of what the potential dates were
Yeah,
and
I'm just-
notify us of their.
I wanted to make
availability.
sure because I don't have their applications memorized. So,
So it's nothing but gaming.
The-
So
the
we'll just move
Mayor
on.
asked me to provide copies of the applications, and they're right here.
for all of us or
Just
just him?
one for each
Oh,
of us,
okay.
one set
Great.
for each. I think it's important to point out that we're all very familiar with all the applicants, very familiar with all of the applicants. At least I'm perfectly able to make a decision with what I know, and we also have their application.
I hadn't seen them all, so I mean, this is the first time I've seen a few of them.
What they emailed to us a few weeks ago.
I know. I watched the videos. That was more important to me. So never hurts. If you don't want them, don't take them. I don't care.
So an alternative, Mayor, that you proposed was,
We'll just have a special meeting Saturday. But
right, I'm also not available that day.
okay.
But you had mentioned having a regular council meeting on the 2nd of December.
That would be to choose the person if we wanted to. That was the motion.
To do
just a quick, but I'm good with just doing it tonight now that we're already involved, and let's just get it done because I think it's pretty much, I think some people have already decided by looking at all day and watching the videos, so.
We did come here to vote.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And we have made, I know it's short notice, but we have 2 applicants who applied. Mrs. Taylor said she's not interested in interviewing or not interested in doing it tonight. And
I think people came here to talk about 59, and I would hate to interfere with 50.
right.
There's a lot of people here that came.
Well, we could move the Area 59 agreement and take this up after Area 59 if we wanted to rearrange the agenda. Because if these people are here mostly to hear about Area 59.
No, I'm good with them all here. This shouldn't take all that long, I wouldn't think.
I don't know.
59 is going to take
59 is going to take a long time. So my concern is that this is just going to drag out over and over and over. Last night, 5 of us came and interviewed Beth Cook, who took a lot of time and effort and made special arrangements to come. And 5 of us were there to hear her interview. And we've certainly done what I think we were available to do. And as Councilor Grant put, not everybody was available to come. Mr. Bevel asked a good question, which is, does all of council have to vote on the appointment? And that was an excellent question, but we do the business of the city with a quorum. We can't always have everybody here. There are times when each one of us has missed a meeting or several, and if we only waited for the entire body to be here, we'd probably not get very much done as far as moving the city forward and doing the business of the city. And so...
Go ahead. I just think, I hear their concern.
Didn't you just say go ahead?
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
And you might as well go ahead now because you interrupted me and I lost my train of thought, so.
Okay, well, I hear the concerns of the applicants. It was a very condensed amount of time that notice was given, so condensed that I couldn't even attend the Saturday meeting because I was already scheduled for a city event that I was appearing at for the One Food for All program. So I think that their concern is that it feels marshaled through, and we don't need to marshal through something like this. We can take our time, interview the applicants when they are available, not with a 3-day notice. It just doesn't need to be that kind of process. But if that is the process that, as you say, the quorum would like to push through, then that's the process they want to push through.
It feels to me like we've taken our own sweet time, and everybody that really wanted to interview showed up at the interviews. We had plenty of opportunities available, and what's clearly going on is somebody's trying to manipulate the system, and I think we just need to do the business of the city and move on.
I think Beth Cook was an example of us working with her and her working with us on times we were available. If there was professional communication between the applicants and Sylvia working out times, she would have worked out times for us. But clearly, it was not. There was not communication. There was not people working with us on saying when they could make it in the time before this meeting. This has been gamed. we know the people, we all came here to vote, and we've got their applications. I don't see a reason that we should just stretch it out. I think we should reward the people that made it a priority to be there, because we all are always going to have 2 or 3 things to do in any given day or night, particularly on a Saturday. Yet we put aside our Saturdays to sit down for as long as it took and listen to anyone who would make it a priority. And I'm prepared to vote.
Yep, me too.
Before we vote, let's
I
make
have
it
one
clear
other thing too.
that this is a 2-3 month appointment, and then you're gonna have to run.
absolutely.
Right, that's fine.
So it really is not that big of a deal. If your heart is in it and you wanna run, then you should be applying for this position and then run for it in March. So, I mean, I don't know if anybody's gonna gain here. All it is an appointment for 2-3 months. And then either you're gonna run and get voted in or not.
And a point of clarification, Beth Cook called me today and she would run should she be selected, so.
So Sylvia, what's the process that?
Oh, I have one other, I just have one other statement, or one other comment. So we had, the mayor had mentioned it in an email, and I don't remember who mentioned it tonight, that the election isn't certified. But the election and the appointment are mutually exclusive, because they don't have anything to do with each other. Councilor Folsom buying a home outside of the city and moving to it had nothing to do with the election. Her decision, the fact that she found a home, all of that timing was just happens to be during the election period. I think that the filing date had passed when she made her decision to move out of the city and no longer be eligible to be on council. So those two issues don't really have anything to do with each other. However, the chances are, at least the past 10 years, statistically, I don't think the election is going to change. I would be shocked if the election was going to change. And Sylvia did some research for us regarding these ballots that are either signed without legible signatures or were not signed, and we have 50 to 60 that are unaccounted for.
As of this afternoon, I spoke to the county. About a week ago, the county had indicated there was about 60 to 70 ballots that they had not verified. When I spoke
For Sherwood alone.
For Sherwood alone, there was about 2,000 within Washington County. There was about 13,000 statewide. When I spoke to the county today, they were extremely busy because today at 5 o'clock was the deadline to remedy all those ballots.
They sent notice to everybody too, didn't they?
Mayor, I'm not sure what the process is, but I do understand just from communication that they do notify each individual signer to verify that information.
So everybody had until today to respond to their ballot.
Today was the county's deadline.
Hold up.
They have to meet state statute.
Okay.
And they had that deadline today.
About how many days did those people have to respond to that sort of stuff?
That I'm not too sure of. I don't know the timeline that the county sent those letters out or those phone calls out. I don't know the county's process to notify those individuals. So I'm not too sure what that timeline is.
And that required them to physically go to the county office and pull their ballot and...
Again, Counselor, I don't know the process. If it's physically, you have to be here, sign a piece of paper, let me verify. I don't know what that process is.
Okay.
Okay, now what's this process?
The process for...
Oh, the code for...
Oh, for appointee. If the council chooses to move in the appointment process, it is a balloting process per the municipal code. So basically what I would have to do is provide you with the ballot with those names of all the individuals, all the applicants that submitted an application, less those that either withdrew from that process. So all those individuals' names will be on the ballot. I provide you with the ballot. You must sign the ballot. It is not a
Anonymous.
Anonymous, thank you. It is not an anonymous ballot. You have to sign it. You vote. I tally those votes, and that vote is read basically out loud. The council will continue to vote and fill out a ballot until you come to a majority. So if the council desires to move in that direction, I'm not prepared with ballots this evening. I'm going to need at least a 15-minute recess to go and prepare those documents.
Well, we'll do the ordinance then now. If it's going to need 15 minutes, we'll go ahead and start with Area 59.
Okay, so.
She has to be here while we're in session.
So
Right.
basically.
So then we'll
take a-
take a break after that.
Can we take a 5-minute break for you to get that started and then reconvene?
Yes, we can take a 5-minute break for me to get that.
All right.
started.
It would benefit staff if we made our nomination for who goes on the ballot, so she knows who to put on that ballot during that 5 minutes, right?
Correct.
I would make the assumption that everybody who applied would be on the ballot.
I was going to make the motion that we nominate all candidates because some feel that they didn't have a chance to be interviewed, and we don't want to rule them out at this late stage. They've all given us applications. We know them all very well. We're all prepared to make a decision based on good information, so there's no reason to have anybody left out. So I would like to make a motion that we nominate every applicant except those who have withdrawn.
A second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Yes. So we
We'll
have
take a
5-minute
5-minute break. Okay, we're going to call the meeting back to order. And my first order of business is going to be, and this was, I'd forgotten to do this, this is a human rights proclamation that I'm going to read. Whereas on December 10th, 1948, the member states of the United Nations signed the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and countries of different political, economic, and social systems unanimously agreed on the fundamental rights that all people shall solely on the basis of their common humanity, and whereas the Universal Declaration asserts recognition of the inherent dignity and the equal and inalienable rights of all members of the human family is the foundation of freedom, justice, and peace. And whereas disregard and contempt for human rights have resulted in acts which have outraged the conscience of mankind, and the advent of the world in which human beings shall enjoy freedom of speech, belief, and freedom from fear and want has proclaimed as the highest aspiration of the common people. And whereas the Universal Declaration is referred to as an authoritative definition of human rights standards and increasingly referred to as customary international law, which all countries must abide, and whereas the primary responsibility to promote respect for these rights and freedoms lies with each individual in the city of Sherwood, and each of us can play a major role in enhancing human rights. And whereas the people of Sherwood reaffirm their faith in fundamental human rights and in dignity and worth of the human person and in equal rights of men and women, and have determined to promote social progress and better standards of life. And now thereof, we, the City Council of Sherwood, Oregon, do hereby proclaim December 7th through 13th to be Human Rights Week and December 10th as Human Rights Day. Would the people that have this proclamation please like to come up and you can speak for a minute, please?
Good evening. I'm Lori Stewart, and I am the Vice Chair of the Washington County Human Rights Council. And I want to thank you for having us. It's been a tough year for human rights around the world. Fortunately, we're in a much better place here, but we, in our organization, our members come from law enforcement, education, state government, service providers, communities of faith. And one of the things that we do is try to track and stay aware of what's going on in our communities. And even in this place that is one of the best places on earth to live, there's issues that are worth fighting for. And we very much appreciate your willingness to support that cause. And we just wanted to let you know that one of the things that we've been working on and are going to have coming up soon, and you may be getting invitations to it, is to participate in a survey to identify key human rights issues so that we can actually start to concentrate our efforts in a collaborative way across all of these different groups that we work with. And so that is going to be going out soon in honor of Human Rights Week. And we hope to have those results sometime in the spring to share with you. And meanwhile, normally we present a copy of, we have a student contest where kids do posters. It's a poster contest for Human Rights Day. And normally I bring a copy of that with us, only we were planning on December originally, and because it was moved up, we don't have that for you at this time, but we hope to send it to you as soon as it's available. And again, thank you very much for affirming your support of this issue. Thank you.
And what was your name again?
I'm Lori Stewart with the Washington County
Lori
Human
Stewart,
Rights
okay.
Council, and this is one of my colleagues, Lee Blevin.
Hi, Lee.
And when we get the posters, we'll put them up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're back on to the business again.
Karen.
Carrying forward the consideration for appointment to the Sherwood City Council.
Mayor, those ballots are currently in production. So
We were
I'm
gonna-
sorry, I thought we were.
Okay,
gonna
we're
go
going
to
back
public
to Area
hearing.
59, okay.
So are we gonna, if we move forward with the public hearing, I do need to read a statement.
Go ahead, please.
The Sherwood City Council will hold a public hearing this evening to hear testimony on a resolution on the agenda. Resolution 2014-073, extending the Area 59 reimbursement district for 5 years to March 4th, 2013. 2023. The purpose of the hearing is to provide the public with an opportunity to submit testimony on the above said item. The order of business the council will follow in conducting this hearing is to hear a staff report, receive correspondence, receive public testimony, receive additional staff comments, and then questions from the council will follow. The hearing will then be closed and no further testimony will be received. Discussion by the council will follow. Any interested person may present testimony. If you wish to speak, please fill out the testimony form and submit it to the city recorder. The mayor will recognize those persons wishing to speak, and any questions should be addressed through the mayor. When you come to the microphone, please state your name and address for the record, as this hearing will be recorded. Please limit your testimony to 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The issue before you this evening is whether or not to extend the Area 59 reimbursement district by an additional 5 years to the year 2023. Just for the audience, the reimbursement district, the Area 59 reimbursement district was formed when the school district was in the construction of the Edie and Laurel Ridge Elementary, or the Edie and Laurel Ridge schools. They provided the oversized infrastructure to accommodate the development of the entire area. There are 12 properties that are involved in this reimbursement district. A 5-year extension is allowed by the Municipal Code 13.24.100H, subject to the council finding that 2 standards have been met. One is the demonstration of good cause for the extension, and the second is that the value of the improvements to the subject properties remains sufficient to warrant the reimbursement. And those are really the criteria that, that you can be considering. Obviously, there's a lot of discretion in how you determine that whether or not those have been met, but those are the criteria that you will be considering this evening. The school district submitted a request asserting that the criteria have been met, and their letter is, and attached documents are pages 45 through 52 of your council packets. The city engineer, the public works director, and I reviewed their request and information, and we concur with the school district's assertion. This is documented in Exhibit A to the resolution, which is page 54 and 55 of your council packet. You've also received written testimony from, I believe, 3 people prior to the meeting this evening. And I can certainly respond to the comments that were made if council would like me to, but I want to stress that you're not being asked to reconsider the original reimbursement district or the original methodology for assigning costs. Those decisions were made in 2008 when the reimbursement district was initially formed. I recommend that you open the public hearing and take testimony, and then I can respond to or address any questions that council has that haven't been addressed through the public hearing process. But I certainly will take any questions now if you want me to answer anything before you open the public hearing.
No, I think it'd be better just go ahead and we'll open the public hearing.
And Mayor and Council, for the record, the documents that you've just been provided is the written testimony that you received today via email. You have 3 different testimonies from 3 different individuals. Those individuals, I believe, may or may not come up this evening, but either way, those documents will be included into the record.
The group out here, I have a stack of people who want to talk, but they wanted to be represented by their attorney instead of individually coming up. Is that the way you wanted to do it? Or we normally don't do it that way, but we'll give you 15 minutes if you'd like. And you will speak for the group?
Yes, may I approach? My name's John Rankin. We have 20 people who want to speak, and I thought in the interest of keeping testimony to as minimum as we could, that I could speak for them because they will say the same sorts of things.
Absolutely, that'd be fine.
Okay, and could I have a little bit more time than 15 minutes?
What are we looking at here?
20.
All right, I'll give you 20. You can start now if you'd like.
School district first?
Or you want the school district first? I'm sorry. Who's the school district rep? Okay. You get the same amount.
There you go. That's it.
Okay. Here, I'm going to do it on my...
Oh, that's all again?
Mayor Middleton, Council President Henderson, and members of the City Council. My name is Phil Johansson. I'm with Sherwood School District. My address is 23295 Southwest Main Street, Sherwood, 97140. As mentioned in the opening comments, on March 4, 2008, the Sherwood City Council established the Area 59 Reimbursement District. The reimbursement district was established as a result of our constructing the Edie Ridge Elementary and the Laurel Ridge Middle Schools, and the city determined that we expended $1.732 million to build public improvements that were eligible for reimbursement. On March 25th of 2014, we requested the city consider modifying its municipal code to permit extending the duration of a reimbursement district. And in that letter, we said that we would anticipate asking for a 5-year extension. On June 3, 2014, Council approved an ordinance amending its code to authorize an extension, and as said, 2 criteria were set, demonstrating that additional time was warranted and the value of the improvements was still in existence. On October 13th, we submitted a letter requesting this public hearing, and we do believe that our letter provided information documenting the 2 criteria for granting an extension were met, demonstrating good cause. In particular, what is being described nationally as the Great Recession effectively curtailed development within the city. Residential construction permits for the 5 years subsequent to 2008 were 22% of residential permits for the 5 years preceding 2008. And the school district has only recovered slightly less than $200,000 of the initial $1.7 million. We believe that the decline in the permit satisfies the demonstration of good cause. Concerning the value of the improvement sufficient to warrant reimbursement, we've engaged and I've asked that he be allowed to speak in a moment as part of our presentation. Ben Austin of the firm of Harper, Hoff, Peterson, Regelis to determine whether the value was sufficient, and his firm concluded that the value of the improvements is sufficient. We present that as information that we've met that criteria. We are asking that the council approve the 5-year extension, and we do want to say that if this extension is granted, that we won't ask for another extension on this particular reimbursement district. I'd like to thank you for your consideration.
Go ahead.
All right. I'm Ben Austin with Harper Hoff Peterson Regelis, 205 Southeast Spokane Street, Suite 200, Portland, Oregon 97202. As Phil mentioned, worked for the engineering firm that did analysis looking to determine if there was still value in the improvements. And I just have 2 points that I wanted to add to what was already said. The first is about the basis of developing a 10-year reimbursement district. I think 10 years, from what we see in the engineering community, is kind of a good time frame for as property develops, you start seeing patterns change and evolve. And I think beyond that, you wouldn't necessarily see the improvements really meeting all of the the pattern for the streets that are out there. So that the sewer, the water, the sanitary may not necessarily work in the same way. So I think that pardon me, that as those patterns, as the development patterns change and evolve, that in this case that's gotten a little bit stagnant out there the last 5 years, and that it makes sense to extend that period another 5 years. That the 10-year period will be forward. The second element that I wanted to discuss is that the value of improvements extend beyond just the original cost of the improvements. There's less risk when somebody goes to develop down the road to schedule, budget, and just having to make sure that those improvements arrive under the cost that they want to see. So just a couple of elements to add to the mix there. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kelly Hosseini. I'm an attorney with Miller Nash, and I represent the Sherwood School District. I was the attorney who represented the school district on the reimbursement district back when it was formed in 2008. I've read most of the testimony that you have before you that has been submitted for this extension, and I would say that much of it pertains to issues that were thoroughly litigated over a period of 2 years back in 2008 and 2009. When this reimbursement district was formed, there were a couple of property owners that took the reimbursement district to circuit court, litigated there. They did not win. They took it up to the Court of Appeals, litigated there. They did not win. And then they tried to get the Oregon Supreme Court to take their case, which declined to take the case. So there were the issues that were litigated ran the breadth from constitutional issues to fairness issues to how much the reimbursement district cost. All of those things were litigated, and so none of those issues are before you tonight. What we're here to do tonight is respond to 2 approval criteria that are contained in your code, and they're the only relevant criteria to this application. The first is whether there's a good reason for the requested extension, and the second is whether the value of the improvements to the subject properties remains sufficient to warrant reimbursement. And we believe that the evidence in the record demonstrates that both criteria are met. And we have submitted engineering information to that effect, and the city engineer and public works director have concurred, as well as planning staff. I do want to address a few issues raised in some of the objection letters, and I'm sure you'll be hearing yet more when I'm done. And I don't know how you want to arrange things, but if you would like anyone from the district to come back up and respond to any of what you hear tonight, we would be happy to do that. The first thing I'd like to respond to is a fundamental mischaracterization that this reimbursement district is requiring property owners to pay for something that they wouldn't otherwise have had to pay for, and that their properties don't continue to benefit from. If the district hadn't extended the water, sewer, stormwater infrastructure and built Copper Terrace, the new development in that area would have had to do so, and would have had to do so at a significant cost. Without these improvements already having been built, a potential developer would have offered a price for the property commensurate with having to pay to build those improvements to serve the development. As it stands now, the price of the infrastructure is still deducted from the value of the property. It's just that the developer doesn't actually have to build the improvements because they've already been built. And as Ben was alluding to, one of the positives for a developer is there's a lot of risk when you come in and try to determine through a land use process or engineering review what's going to be required, how much it's going to cost, et cetera, et cetera. All that's been done. The district spent several years working with the city, going through the land use process, constructing these improvements, doing everything that a developer would otherwise have to do. And certainly that repayment for that is not really included in this, but there is a definite upside to a developer looking to develop any one of these properties because that infrastructure is now in place. Back in 2007, when options for building this infrastructure were being considered, one option was to establish a local improvement district. And you're all probably pretty familiar with those. But for those who are not, a local improvement district is where the city actually builds some or all of those necessary public infrastructure improvements to serve an area and then apportions the cost of that infrastructure as a lien on the benefited properties. That lien is then paid off over a period of years by the properties. And now a reimbursement district is a similar concept. It's just that the reimbursement fee is a lien. The reimbursement is a fee, it's not a lien, so it only comes due if and when a property redevelops. It's not something people have to start paying back right away. So in this case, the district decided that it was more fair to the property owners not to collect unless development occurred. So we didn't pursue the LID, but the concept remains the same, and it would have been the same general principle. It's just that the district came in and made all of the improvements versus the city coming in and making all the improvements. And what came out of that was a fee and not a lien on the property. So there's properties that are benefiting from these improvements. They continue to benefit from these improvements, and so they should pay for those improvements. The benefited property owners for this reimbursement district are only being asked to pay their fair share of the infrastructure that was built and paid for by the Sherwood School District taxpayers. The taxpayers built the infrastructure that any redevelopment in that area will be relying on. To not require that development to reimburse the district for that infrastructure is essentially giving those property owners a windfall at taxpayer expense.
Thank you. Anybody else from the school district? All right.
Mayor Middleton, there are other members of the Mandel family who are not, I'm not representing, who are here this evening. So I'd like them to start out in the order they would like. There are 4 members of the Mandel family who have some testimony.
They'll get 4 minutes each. Please come up.
Good evening. My name is P.K. Mandel. I live at 4136 Southeast Stark Street in Portland, Oregon. And I'm here to testify against the extension of the reimbursement district. Item 1. The extension of the reimbursement time period creates an additional burden on the landowners without an additional benefit. When the reimbursement district was created in 2008, the school district proved to the city that the burden placed on the landowners was commensurate with the benefit the owners were receiving. The landowners were third-party beneficiaries in what was a contract between the developers and the city. The new resolution is a new contract between the developer and the city in which the school district must prove that the landowners are once again third-party beneficiaries. But clearly they are not. Under the original resolution, the reimbursement fee on April 1st, 2018 would be $0. Under this resolution, the fee for the Mandel family on that date will be $1.3 million, including interest. Since no new additional infrastructure is being constructed, the city would be imposing a substantial additional burden on the landowners without any additional benefit. Item 2. The city is imposing an additional burden on the Mandel family with no additional benefit to the city. Our nation was founded on the principle that the government cannot make burdens on citizens unless there is a benefit to the government imposing the burden. That is the basis for much of our Constitution and Bill of Rights. The city benefited by the original reimbursement district by the construction of city infrastructure. There are no additional city benefits being made with the extension. This resolution places a large burden on the Mandel family with no benefit to the government imposing the burden. Item 3. The reimbursement fee is so large right now, about $1.2 million, including interest for the Mandel family, that nobody is seriously interested in buying the property. According to the school's district's lands appraisal, the Mandel family has 14 acres of developable land. That makes the current fee about $85,000 per acre. The original intent of reimbursement districts was to promote development. The city says to a prospective developer, look, build here. We've already built all of these improvements. All you have to do is pay your fair share. The present reimbursement district has already delayed development until 2018. If there had been a smaller fee attached to the Mandel land, it would be in development by now. It is the reimbursement fee, not the recession, that is now delaying development. This extension will probably delay development until 2023. Item 4. People have planned their lives based on the city's promise that this district expires in 2018. My parents, David and Nancy Mandel, are 65 years old. If the reimbursement district is extended to 2023, by the time it expires, they will either be old or dead. Indeed, one of the owners, my Aunt Nancy Mandel Keeling, has passed away since the fee went into effect. Much of the proceeds from selling the property was to be used for education. My cousin Elizabeth Keeling is attending Gonzaga University under the assumption that funds will be available in 2018 to pay off the associated very large student loans. My brother and I and my brother's wife all have student loans that were to be paid off in 2018. My brother and sister-in-law will be in their mid-40s by 2023. Their daughter, Charlotte Rose, will be 8 years old, and she hasn't even been born yet. Our family wants to move forward. Please don't trap us for another 5 years in development purgatory.
Thank you. Randy Keeling.
My name's Randy Keeling. I live at 21620 Southwest Edie Road, Sherwood, Oregon, 97140. I represent the late Nancy Keeling. She was my wife. She's the one that went through the whole process at the beginning of this. It was her baby. She didn't make it. She tried to settle with the school. She fought. She lost. She thought she could help plan the whole, development, work with people. Basically, the school's gone in, cut up our property, developed it as they saw fit, and now want us to pay for it, and then pay for it with interest. It's like Sherwood this Friday. They're going to play a football game. They kick the winning field goal with 3 seconds left, and somebody comes along and says, oh, sorry, we're going to give the ball to the other team and give them an extra 5 minutes. You know, if we're going to pull ordinance out of our hat that nobody's heard about, then I don't know what you can do. When we lost the battle, we were willing to eat the 10 years and move on. Now suddenly there's supposedly ordinances that allow you guys to add another 5 years. Unfortunately, we can't afford Miller Nash type lawyers, so we have to go with what we're told. And I'm sorry, but I don't believe that this is fair, and I know from experience life is not fair. And I'd like to be able to move on myself, to not have to drive by this place each day, see the property developed or not developed, or have the opportunity to do it when the time's up. I don't want to spend the rest of my life trying to do something, and I promised my wife that if something happened to her, we'd fix it. Thank you.
Nancy Mandel.
I'm Nancy Mandel of 560 Southeast Alexander, Corvallis, Oregon. I have a few objections. Number one, according to the letter signed by Mayor Middleton on June 3rd, 2014, the ordinance amendment allowing reimbursement district time periods to be extended was passed specifically to apply to the Area 59 reimbursement district of 2008. but the affected landowners were never informed that the city was considering such an amendment, that a hearing was scheduled, or that the amendment had passed. The Mandel family has 64% of the reimbursement fee attached to private landowners, so this ordinance was written primarily for us, but we had no knowledge of its existence. This may satisfy the legal requirements for notification, but it would strike most people as unfair. Number 2, the new ordinance passed in June 2014 should not be applicable to districts created before June 2014. Normally, when the city makes a change, say to a building code, the change does not apply to existing buildings. The Mandel Reimbursement District was created in March 2008 with what was essentially a contract stating that the time period was fixed at 10 years, not 10 years and extendable another 5. Number 3, the ordinance as written could be applied even after the initial time period is expired. The school district could have waited until 2022 to apply for the extension. By that time, the land could be completely developed under the impression that the time period had expired in 2018. Number 4, this resolution creates an unlawful taking of land. When the school district condemned the land to build Copper Terrace Road, it paid due compensation to the landowners, that is the Mandel family. Included in the Mandel reimbursement fee is the school district's cost of purchasing the land from them. The city expects the Mandel family to reimburse the school district the cost of buying Mandel land, plus 4% interest. The owners complained that this was contrary to Amendment 5 of the U.S. Constitution, outlawing a taking without just compensation, since they would essentially receive no compensation for that land. The city successfully argued that it was not a taking because the reimbursement fee was easily avoided by waiting to develop until after the 10-year fixed time period. Now the city is considering changing the time period, so it's clearly not fixed. Since the city can write another ordinance in another 5 years to extend another 5 years, the time period may be indefinite. Number 5, improvements depreciate with time. In 2023, the road and other improvements will be 15 years old. Things wear out, but there is nothing in the extension ordinance allowing for the decreased value of the improvements. The landowners have thus far received no benefit from the road or any other improvement. Yet if they develop, they are expected to pay for the improvements as if they were new. Number 6, making a change in the time period is in violation of a verbal guarantee made by the city to the owners in the spring of 2008. On March 11, 2008, the Mandel family met with city officials to complain about the reimbursement district and the size of the fee and to request modifications. The city officials told the family that if they didn't like the fee, all they had to do was wait 10 years and it would be gone. The officials said that the city was not going to make any changes to the reimbursement district, that the fee and time period were fixed, and that the landowners should make plans accordingly. The owners have done so and have arranged their lives with this expectation. Number 7, in the school's district's application, they state they want the extension because, quote, it may provide an opportunity to address capital needs within the district, unquote. True, but that would be the same for money from any source. There is no reason targeting the Mandel family is fundamentally unfair.
Thank you. David Mandel?
Yes. Did you get my written testimony? Thank you. Hello, my name is David Mandel. I live at 560 Southeast Alexander in Corvallis. I was born in Sherwood, graduated from Sherwood High School. It's an honor to see a school on property that I once owned. However, I believe there's a few things that the school district's doing that is very unfair to us. Among these is it's breaking promises that it made to us. In 2008, I believe in the city council meeting like this, Kelly Husseini from the school district states, I'd just like to touch on one point that Mr. Robinson made, which is that after 10 years have elapsed, that the district would be able to develop those ball fields with impunity, I guess, and not have to pay charges to the reimbursement district. Well, that is true for every property out there, too. Mr. Rapsamson could wait 10 years to develop his property and hook in. There are some property owners out there, there may be some property owners out there who are planning on doing just that. In the same meeting, Mayor Mays said, if I were the Mandels, I would hold on to it for 10 years. And there's been many other statements over the years along those lines. My other argument is that indeed the reason the school district has received only $200,000, only 12% of what they expected to receive, has nothing to do with the Great Recession. It has to do with the fact that the Mandels changed their mind on developing and decided to wait the 10 years. That's not the school district's case at all. They haven't proved their case. And it doesn't even fit the ordinance, since the ordinance seems to say they need a good reason for their decision. In conclusion, contrary to the documents submitted to the school district, the Mandels' unwillingness to develop the land has nothing to do with the Great Recession, and they do make up the bulk of the money that is due, which is now largely a thing of the past anyway. The Mandel family has accepted their losses, including the loss of one family member, and decided to exercise their legal right to not develop as long as they are liable for a reimbursement fee that they consider to be unjust. Whether it is or not, we think it is. Extending the duration of the reimbursement district beyond the original 10-year duration would be unlikely to generate any extra revenue for the Sherwood School District and would simply be a way of punishing the Mandel family for exercising legal rights that the city or the school district does not want us to exercise. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, Attorney?
I think so. Oh, good. Hey, that just goes, you want to, yeah, if you want to time me, Joe, that would be fine, please. Timing me that way would be fine. Good evening, Mayor Middleton, council members. My name is John Rankin. I'm a land use attorney and have represented probably 6 or 7 cities in my lifetime. I currently represent 3 cities, so I know what you folks do. I know Pam well, and we've done projects together. So I have, these 20 folks that I'm representing, and I'll take those 20 minutes and try to use them as best I can. Thanks again for the opportunity to be here. I want to make sure that you understand that this is not an indictment against the school district or the city. I think I can speak for the clients I represent, who are Jane and Marvin Mandel, Marvin and Jane Mandel, who are 75% landowners of the Mandel family farm. And I represent Lowell LeBon, who is the owner of Edie LLC and the son of Loretta LeBon, that maybe some of you attended school here in 2nd grade. She was a 2nd grade teacher for many years. The Mandel family and the LeBon family have a lot of respect for the school district and what it does for our young people in our community. So this is not about the school district. It's about fairness, it's about appropriateness, it's about substantial evidence in the record, a legal term. It's about a story which is this. The Mandel family owned a piece of property, 28 acres altogether, and they found themselves being placed inside the urban growth boundary. And then a concept planning process was begun that was over an 18-month period. I was involved in that process. The school district had planned, and the reason for the expansion of the urban growth boundary was to put schools on this 90 acres. The school decided they wanted their school site on Edie Road, and took the entire Laban property. And that was the initial proposal. And we went through a series of design charrettes and meetings and hearings and all that sort of thing, and finally came up with a concept plan where the school district agreed to be pushed back into the back southeast corner of the property, freeing some of the property up for the Mandels and the Labans to develop sometime in the future. Then there was a process of annexation, and as you know, in this city, annexation is a difficult process. The annexation process was going to be started without the rest of the property owners. The school district was going to initiated the annexation process, and we made sure that, very politely but firmly, saying, hey, come on, if you're going to put yourselves into the boundary and you're going to bring us into the urban growth boundary and now want to push yourself into the city limits, we want to have that benefit too. So that benefit was provided. Then yes, we did go through a process whereby we sold some property to the school district. We went through a process where the reimbursement district was formed. We challenged the reimbursement district on one issue. It was contrary to what Kelly Hosseini said to you just a moment ago. It was not on every issue. We did not litigate everything. We litigated one thing, and that was that there was a $440,000 assessment fee, reimbursement fee, against a 440-foot long strip of the Mandel property at $1,000 a foot, a lineal foot. That's what we appealed. We did lose on that because, in my opinion, the city at the time went ahead and spread the street reimbursement, or the $441,000, spread it across the road where there was only one lane, travel lane, and spread it on the entire 22 acres on the other side of the Copper Terrace improvement. So, characterizing our appeals as something that was litigious for no reason or no apparent reason is wrong. And that's the court case. Here's what I've got. I need to put this into the record. May I approach who needs to pass them out? Okay, I've got the original here on top. I think I've got enough copies for Kelly here. I have a letter that I've put together and drafted with a couple of attachments. And let me just summarize what's happened here. The reimbursement district is 53 acres. My clients, Labans and Mandel family, own 27 acres. That's 51% of the land. The reimbursement district was formed at its inception in 2008. The fee applied to the Mandel and Laban property was $1,083,000 and change. That was in 2008. That was 73.5% of the total reimbursement fees to be paid by all property owners in the reimbursement district. They own 51% of the property, 73.5% of the assessment. That's where they're coming from. That's the background. Incidentally, my 73.5% calculation does not include the school district. The school district included its properties in the reimbursement district, but a reimbursement district wouldn't work if the if the school district paid into the city its reimbursement SDCs and then received those reimbursement SDCs back. So it was a little bit of manipulation of the figures, and so you've got to be careful about how you look at the calculation. As additional background, maybe you don't know, that there's a 4% fee rate that's applied to every year. So if you take the $1,083,000 that was the original assessment fee and you multiply it times 4%, you get $43,000. Each year, this thing is growing by $43,000. So it's grown by about $250,000 at this point, 6.5 years in, okay? Now, at that same time, the infrastructure is degrading to some extent. Every infrastructure has a design life. I spent 20 years in the engineering business before I got tired of running into lawyers and became one. And I know that the typical way, and maybe Tom can support me here or not support me, but underground infrastructure has a typical design life of 50 years, kind of industry standard. And street improvements have a typical design life that's really dependent entirely on maintenance and repair, obviously. You don't maintain and don't repair that road, it's going to degrade faster. By my calculation, 6.5 years into a 50-year life for the underground, we're at 13%. So what you have 4% being added every year to the cost to my clients if they choose to develop and pull a permit. And you've got the system degrading 13% at this point, and I think I didn't do the calculation, but it'll be about 18%, 20% by the time 2018 rolls around, and it might be high. It certainly will be higher by the time 2015 rolls around. And at the same time, you've got a school district who has paid for all of the infrastructure, including the extra capacity that they have provided to my clients. There's extra capacity out there, we admit to that. Including the extra capacity, all of those costs, the 2 schools, all of the infrastructure, including the extra capacity, are all paid for by bonds, as you know. So all of us, I even looked at I'm out of town on a little farm, but I looked at my tax bill, and there's a $1,300 payment to the bonds to pay off the schools and the assessments. So here we have the school district getting its bonds paid by the taxpayers, and we've got costs increasing to the Mandel and LeBon family and the reimbursement properties out there. And we've got the system degrading over time and not being worth all that it was at the start. But the property owners out there who do develop having to pay as if it was new, plus new. Now, obviously, these things were set up to try to take care of inflation, so the 4% figure may have been accurate at the very beginning, but certainly the cost of living has not, and you've got some evidence from one of my clients. In fact, by the way, do you have Marvin Mandel's submittal, written testimony in your files? Good, okay. All right. One of the key issues, how am I doing, Joe?
Just under 10 minutes.
10 minutes left? Good, thank you. One of the important things to remember here is that the burden that the Mandel and LeBon families have is that they cannot pull a permit, even for a driveway. If you look back at the reimbursement district ordinance, they can't pull a permit for a driveway without getting, without triggering a reimbursement fee. Okay, so that's why they chose, all the reasons you've heard from other testimony, chose to hold the property, to not market the property. David Mandel mentioned Kelly Hosseini and Mayor Mays' comments in the record. I have a transcript of that city council meeting that was in the court case that we worked through the process. I also have a quote, forgive me, Tom, from Tom Pessimir. He was then Community Development Director, I believe. And this is a direct quote, and incidentally, the other quotes that David Mandel provided were actually in this record. I think the record is, the transcript is in one of the attachments to one of the testimonies that you have, and you can look back. I've highlighted the pages that you need to look back at in your copies of my letter. Here's what Tom said. The resolution which we have prepared for your consideration requires, in there we put an agreement. I mean, Tom, I talk too, and I, interrupt myself and change my thoughts, and so it may sound a little odd to you, but a clause in the agreement that requires the city and school district that fields will not connect to sewer and water, so that this is in the next 10 years. What they were doing was the school district used the 10 years itself in this reimbursement district and said, we're not going to include our ball fields for sewer and water purposes in the reimbursement so that 10 years from now, we can connect our ball fields to city sewer and water, put a restroom up or whatever, that sort of thing. So, Tom goes on, so written into the resolution is a requirement that would be to the agreement with the school district that there is a limitation that would not allow them to hook into the sewer, the water systems for a period of 10 years. And I should mention, I didn't at the beginning, that these reimbursement districts are usually in place for 10 years after the adoption date. So after 10 years, there wouldn't be any restriction on any developers within the district to develop with proportionate costs. Then let me turn my attention quickly, and your attention quickly, to the actual notice that was received. Again, I want to reiterate that none of my clients received any notice of your ordinance to add the 5-year extension in June. No notice was provided. I learned it by looking at the website, discovered it, informed my clients, and called Chris Crean, one of your city attorneys, and talked it out a little bit with him. Obviously, we were behind the 8 ball. It was August or September, and we decided, okay, we'll wait until an application actually comes. I ask you the question, would Walmart or some other developer, would you, if they came to you saying, you know, I've got this 10-year reimbursement district and I want to increase it for 5 years, would you have granted that? Would you have listened to their plea to take language that they're proposing and put it into your ordinance so that that could happen at some point in time? All right. More importantly, how much time do I have, Joe? 5 minutes. All right. Better get to this one, because this is the crux of the matter. You have criteria in 34, I'm going to get it here, 3424-100H of the Municipal Code. And contrary to your notice, there are 3 criteria, actually. There are not 2. If you look carefully at the ordinance, there are 3 criteria. The first one is the useful life of the improvements. Now, you've heard from the school district. There are no facts in the school district report. Read it for yourself. There are no facts in there that support the useful life of the existing improvements. Each category of the improvements is not described in detail with any reference to any standard design life for the service, for the public service that's being provided. There are no comparisons to the existing conditions. There's no evidence of existing conditions. And I've already talked about what I see in that relative to design life. Second criteria, and when I say, I'm saying here, I'll read this directly, the Sherwood Municipal Code requires that the district provide information. That's what it says, provide information. That means to me evidence and facts to support a conclusion. And the second criteria is provide this information, evidence and facts that support a conclusion regarding the continuing benefit to the subject properties. There's absolutely no evidence in the district's report that there's anything of continuing benefit to the properties. There's no evidence provided. The third one, and the most interesting one, is the district is to provide information, again evidence, of why there is good cause for the extension. They have stressed the Great Recession. Halted development is what they say in their letter. They have a flawed methodology and an analysis here and characterization. Here's the way it works. If I came to you and asked for this extension, if I was coming to you as a developer and asked for an extension and I said there's got to be good cause, the cause has to relate directly to the reimbursement district. That's where the fund is coming from. That's where the fees are being paid. It has to relate directly to the reimbursement district that I provided the public improvement to. The Great Recession had nothing to do with what's happening in reimbursement district area 59. It has only to do, predominantly to do, with the fact that there was a huge fee that 51% of the landowners said was too much and we're going to hold based on representations that were made by the city and by others, and based on their understanding of what benefit they would have out of this reimbursement district. I have in my attachments a list of subdivisions that were approved from 2004 to 2014. If you look carefully at that, you'll see that there are 17 subdivisions approved between 2004 and 2006. Those 17 subdivisions I offer to you, and we haven't been able to get public records request on this information, I offer to you were on vacant, available, buildable lands. Those lands have been used up. The city itself, and Tom and Julia, forgive me, Julia, here, but in January 15th of 2014, attended a school district special work session. At that special work session, and I'll read here, Ms. Hyjuk then reviewed the 2 to 5 year outlook. She noted that, these are from the minutes of that meeting incidentally, she noted that there are no formal applications currently submitted for land development, but the city anticipates 180 units will be approved and developed within 2 to 5 year time frame based on pre-application meetings and preliminary discussions with developers. At that time, 180, and if you divide that by 5, what do I say in my letter? I think I've got 36 residents, 36 building permits per year. The city doesn't have buildable lands. The city hasn't had an annexation recently, is my understanding. And Brookman failed, at least the one little portion of Brookman failed. So it's a buildable lands inventory issue that explains the building permit situation, not the Great Recession. Okay? Thank you, Joe. The last issue, too, I think we're trying to explore, and our public records requests are out there, but as you see from the public records attachment that the city, at least, is to get back to us within 5 business days and then provide records within 20 days. We had notice here, 11-day notice, I think is what we had. I would offer that given the burden that you're placing, another 5 years, the burden you're placing on the Mandel and LeBon's family, there should have been more notice. You've got to make that commensurate with, the notice has to be, and the opportunity to comment has to be commensurate with the right being impinged upon. Lastly, and I'll finish my comments, we have been meeting with, at least I have talked with Kelly Hosseini of the school district. We do have some ideas about possible compromise issues and the way to reach a settlement. And one of them that I didn't discuss with Ms. Hosseini is that if the city is going to grant this approval and grant a benefit to the school district, then it's our opinion that it makes sense, quid pro quo, to grant an equal benefit or similar benefit to the Mandel and LeBon family. It seems to me if the grant is 5 years, then the Mandel, LeBon family, and all the property owners in the reimbursement district should have their interest rate waived from the beginning, from 2008 through 2014. That, at a minimum, seems to me to be a reasonable matter to consider. So, if you're intent on making a decision tonight, I request that you deny this application. If your intent is to approve this application, then I humbly, respectfully request that you also grant a waiver of the interest rate, the 4% interest rate, 3 times in some cases what inflation is, from 2008 to the present. And in the alternative, final alternative, I would ask that you grant a continuance. That gives everybody a little more time to kind of let the steam roll a little bit and gives us more time to talk with the school district and then come back through the city to see if we can come to some reasonable conclusion.
Okay, I talked to the council president, and it appears we've been bombarded with so much information today.
Yes.
That I think an extension on this would be well-deserved. And does the council agree on that? Because I've got some questions of staff too, and there's just way too much information. So at this point, I'd like to.
I completely agree. However, while they're here, I wonder if we could just take a few minutes to ask some questions, some clarifying questions.
Absolutely, but I don't think we're going to make a decision.
Certainly.
I believe that.
I agree.
And I've gone over. Thank you very much. And do you have any questions for me?
I believe Councilor Grant does.
Yes.
Yeah. John. It's John, right?
Please. Yes.
Okay. So the confusion that I'm hearing is well, there's a lot of confusion, as the mayor pointed out. But one thing that kind of stands out is the question of whether these costs, as they are, okay, forget about interest for a second.
Yes.
Okay, separate issue, I think. But the costs that are presented on paper are the same cost that it would have somehow been borne by those very property owners anyway. So I think if I could paraphrase, what I heard the representatives of the school district say was it was the math would have come out the same in the end when everything was done, everything's developed, and money goes both directions. It's the same math with or without the reimbursement district. But what I think, and I hope I characterized your point correctly, but what I think I'm hearing from you is maybe you're not so agreeing with that. You're saying that this is costing the property owners a lot more than they would have ended up having the burden on their property development. All that would have been. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yes. Well, let's imagine a scenario right now. Obviously, I got to tell you that the development community knows about the Mandel property. It's a significant chunk of property, and they're looking at it, and I get calls. I've gotten a lot of calls. I've gotten, not a lot, but some calls, let's say it that way. And every time I mention the reimbursement district, there's a whoops, oh, well, that's going to lower the price. Now, I'm not soliciting offers. I want you to know this is not inconsistent with my client's position. But they call me. They know I'm involved. They call me. And the development community knows me anyway out there because I do this sort of work for others, for property owners. So the answer to the question is it's not quite as simple as that. It depends. The reimbursement districts were created because there used to be latecomer agreements. And developers would come in and say, well, I'm going to do this project, and let's do a latecomer agreement, either with the city or with private property owners. I'll put in the improvements and you'll pay me back. And so if things develop incrementally, small at a time, small phases at a time, then the infrastructure gets put in small phases at a time. But in this case, because the school district was pushed to the southeast corner of the project, they had to put in significant infrastructure. Developers are used to paying something for off-site construction. And bringing capacity, extra capacity up from, say, a trunk line or a water line or something like that. They're used to paying something, but when you tell them it's going to be $1.3 million or $1.2 million and it's gaining 4% a year, it looks more like we've taken a loan, that my clients have taken a loan from the school district for that extra capacity, and if they wait, they get it forgiven. If they don't, they have to pay it, and it has to be negotiated with the developer. So it's not quite as simple as they're going to pay exactly what they would have had to pay anyway.
That makes it tough, and
it is a tough situation.
Yeah.
And remember too that you've got, how would you all like to have your property at least have, it's not a lien, I admit that, but it is a burden, it is an encumbrance. It is something that has to be paid in order to develop the property.
Okay.
And to sell it and develop the property. And it always lowers the price. And, you
Well,
know.
I appreciate you coming in your answer. I really have a lot of questions, but I'm thinking that these are questions for probably a future council. Well, I'm not going to be around, but I fully support waiting. I'd like to say, if I may briefly, that I was, over the 12 years I've been on council, there are certain meetings that stick out that I'll probably remember for the rest of my life. And one involved this property. I don't remember if it was this specific issue or if it was the bringing it into the annexation. But it impacted me that the way our growth impacts folks who live near us but are getting closer and closer to us as we grow. And it really did, it just sunk into me the change in their lives that really they didn't bring to us. We brought ourselves to these folks. And I see a gentleman in the back of the room, and I'll never forget him because, and I think that it seemed like he was really laying it on us, and maybe he was, but it really sunk in. And our growth is an issue that is seen by people out a little bit outside as very unfortunate to them. And I'll never forget that. And that makes me think, I think of that today when we talk about what legal obligations we have or what legal implications have been played out in the courts, which in my opinion are done with, but what really is a moral obligation from the things that have been said and everything that's transpired, setting aside what the courts have said, what now is morally right and wrong. That's where I'm at. I hope future councils come up with the right decision on this. I'm not ready for this tonight. I agree with the mayor.
And Councilor Grant, just one last statement. The gentleman you're talking about is Lowell LeBon. He's in the back corner of the room.
Yep.
And his sole comment to me was, well, they set the rules. Why can't they live by them?
I think our best hope would be that you do come to an agreement with the school district, but we will keep this open meeting. We're not going to close it.
Thank you very much.
And we'll take written testimony during that time too, if people want to.
Mayor
Go
Middleton,
ahead.
and before council makes a motion to continue, I guess just clarification on when you're continuing it to. I was initially thinking the December 16th meeting, but then Councilor Grant was talking about future councils, which means probably next year.
My opinion is to a date not certain.
Right. And are you continuing the hearing, or are you leaving the record open and then just considering?
I guess you'll have to give some guidance. I don't know what the best thing for what.
Okay, then we'll just continue it for now to December until the second meeting.
She wants to know if we're continuing the open record, right?
Yes, if you continue it to December 16th and you don't close the record in any way, then you would, on December 16th, take additional testimony.
Yeah, we can do that, and then at that time, we could leave it open only for written till the next council comes in to make the decision, correct? If we wanted to.
You certainly could do that. That would then, and I'm sure that I'm seeing several of the counselor-elects in the audience, that then they would need to review all of the record from this evening, December 16th, and be prepared to make a decision at some point in the future. So it would put burden on that future council to have done the review. But.
We'll just continue it to the 16th, and then that night we can decide.
Does that take a motion?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll move we continue. Resolution 2014-073, leaving the record No.
Continuing the public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry, continuing the public hearing regarding Resolution 2014-073 until our next scheduled meeting, which is December 16th.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. So will be continued to the next meeting.
That way the Mandels know to come. Yeah.
You know, the one thing that...
There's a lot of people here I didn't know were related.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
You're welcome, John.
Motion, I just have to recognize.
Sylvia, are you ready? Or
I hope so, yeah, I think so.
you want to take a 5?
We can, do you want 5 minutes?
Well, she needs 5, I think.
You need 5 minutes?
Go check with
Yep.
Colleen.
Mayor, are you going to announce a 5-minute recess?
Good. We'll take a 5-minute recess. We'll be back at 9:15. Okay, we're going to get ready to start the meeting. Okay, everybody, come on. We're going to start the meeting. We've got 12 minutes. Okay, we're going to open the meeting in regards to the filling of the vacant council spot that will go to March.
It will be a March election.
Okay. So, you're going to hand out the ballots, correct?
Correct.
And everybody can have a minute or two to talk on what they'd like to talk on. I'd like to start by, I did watch the videos. They were very interesting. I wanted to thank Tony for wearing a suit. That was real nice. You mentioned that. And Renee was very professional. I thought she did a very good job. Also, yesterday was the one where we met with Beth Cook, and I reviewed all the resumes, and we had a lot of good candidates, and I really appreciate the amount of people that came forward and were willing to serve. And also, that these people who, if you don't get selected tonight, please get involved with the community. We're going to open up there's a whole lot of new commissions that'll be opened up next year, time's expiring on quite a few, so everybody has an opportunity. So just because you don't get selected tonight doesn't mean you're out of the city process. We'd love you to be involved. It's been great. And go ahead. Did you want to
understanding? Are we going to discuss our vote, or are we just simply going to vote, or what?
Well, it wouldn't hurt to discuss it for a few minutes, right?
Maybe,
the process,
yeah,
and then
sure.
Just an introductory discussion of the process. Did you want to do that, Sylvia?
Yeah.
So, council, in front of you, you each have a ballot. I noted on the ballot that this is round 1 of voting. In case the rounds go to multiple rounds, we have to have record of each round. Your ballot has to indicate your name on it. A signature would be preferred, a legible signature or name, and then you just make your vote. Upon voting on each ballot, return the ballots to me. Joe and I have a tally sheet that we need to indicate those votes on. We'll note that tally sheet. It is also considered part of the record. And if in case there is a tie vote, the council will continue to vote until that tie is broken. At the conclusion of the voting, if there is a majority for a particular candidate, I do have a statement here that the mayor can read referencing the charter and the code to place that individual into their position. Also this evening, I did provide City Attorney Berry with a oath if the council so chooses tonight to swear that individual in. Again, that does not have to be done in the public process, but an oath must be taken before the individual can be seated.
And I don't see any reason why when we vote, people can't justify their vote. I mean, I'd like to see that. I think it's an important part of the process. So we can start anywhere. We start down with...
Okay. I have no problem with that. I thought that the interviews were very compelling, and I think everyone did an excellent job that we interviewed. So it boils down to someone who can, to me, the people who can jump right in and get right at it without a warm-up period, because it's only a 4-month service anyway, or whatever it is. So to me, I'm going back to the will of voters, and the 4th highest vote getter, and only by a very small margin of far less than 100 votes was Dan King, I believe, and so that's who I'm going to write down on the ballot.
Yeah, I thought we had a very good interview process, and some great candidates came and interviewed, and it is a very short appointment, and it is important somebody with experience that can hop in and take care of some work quickly in the first couple months before they choose one way or another to run for an election. And so I also am voting for Dan King.
Well, as I said before, sorry about that. Every time you touch that thing, it goes off. I was not happy with the process of the interviews. I did go on to YouTube and watch, and I thought that the interviewees did great. I'm not going to go for the fourth vote getter because the names that are on my ballot in front of me are not the names that were on the ballot that got the fourth vote in the election. These are very different names than that, and so just going to whoever got the fourth highest vote doesn't really apply because the people on this ballot weren't all on that ballot. And so I think that we should go with the person who has the best ability to fit the position. And I think that that is Beth Cook. She has a great experience. She interviewed very well. She's incredibly articulate, very involved with not only here at the city, but also at the state level. And I think she'd be a great addition to council. And what I like about this process that actually has been echoed a couple times is that this process is not something that's going to be for the next 2 years to fill the position. It's for a couple months, and then the citizens decide. So I think that that's the way that the process is supposed to happen, and so I'm looking forward to when the citizens decide who is going to be in that position for good. But I think that for now, Beth Cook would be a great addition to our council.
I'll just go ahead next, since we're going down the line. I also would recommend Beth Cook. If you read the resumes, she has the most outstanding resume with an MPA in business administration. She's currently on our planning commission. She has contacts that we really could use when it comes to small business and getting things running in the city. She's very aware of the TSP. Some of the questions that came up to some of the other candidates, they had not prepared and read, I don't believe, as much as she had on certain areas. The wetlands is not in the city limits, by the way, it's in the county. That was just one, and there was a few others, and she even knew minute details of what was coming up, what the current issues are, where we're going from here. And I think that she would make a fantastic full-time counselor. And I think that giving her the chance to do a few months, she would be able to roll right into the position. If you read her resume and you know her background, and I don't know her too well. I know her a little bit. I don't know. I know a couple of these people. I'm not good friends with anybody on here, I could say. But I think that the top three would have been Renee, Tony, and Beth, and I definitely think that Beth would be the best choice now, but I would encourage the other candidates to come back because we are going to have another one opening in January. So my vote for now would be Beth Cook.
Well, for me, it was two things. One of the questions on the application was, do you plan to run for office in March of 2015? And there were only two of the applicants that said yes. Everybody else, they were undecided. And so I narrowed it down to two people. And then from there, to me, it was who had the most experience. And it was between Beth Cook and Dan King as far as I'm concerned. I couldn't quite get Beth at the time to commit to me whether she was actually going to run or not. So my vote goes to Dan King.
I also enjoyed the interview process. The last time we had a council vacancy, we had a very different process. We had literally one night that everybody who was interested in coming came, and we had made 4 nights available for this process. So I think that's a huge improvement. We also had the flexibility to ask questions. We didn't ask the same questions of candidates. The mayor was gracious, and we went back and forth a little bit, and we had the opportunity to ask questions that are important to us. And that was a large improvement from the last time we had a vacancy. I think that people are rewarded for effort. Tenacity is a good thing. When you see something and you go for it and you make a commitment and you make effort, that shows an indication of present behavior, would be an indication of future behavior. And so I commend those individuals who filled out the application, indicated what nights they were available, and then actually committed to the night that they were available, or day, meaning Saturday. So that was an important aspect of the application process. When I worked in human resources before becoming a parent, if an applicant said they were available and didn't make the interview, then that made a huge impression on me. And that continues whenever you're asked to do something as important, to come into a seat of an elected official. It takes commitment and tenacity and flexibility and ingenuity, all apply to many ways in which we get here every first and third Tuesday of the month. And I was also interested in somebody who is interested in a long-term commitment as opposed to a short-term commitment. And those individuals who said that they were going to run definitely showed to me that they didn't fill out this application lightly, and knew that it potentially was an appointment that then led to an election and potentially a year-and-a-half commitment. So those are criteria that I used. So when I vote, I will use those criteria when making my choice. I, in addition to the mayor, would like to encourage people who are interested in serving. We do have board and commissions coming available. You can certainly reach out to a counselor at any time that you have an interest in something or a question in something and get information to us. You don't always have to serve on a board or a commission to have contact with us or with staff. And I think that some of the applicants had some very good ideas about how to reach out to people, how to talk to people, how to get input that were sort of non-traditional ways, and I think that that's great. And I'm thinking about adopting some of them myself as a way to get feedback from residents who don't normally attend a meeting or aren't necessarily at an event where council members are at. And this has been a 6 weeks process for me, and we have work to do, and I think it's better to have a representation of a large council as much as possible as opposed to a smaller council when we have decisions to make and we need to get feedback from constituents. I think that 6 people is better than 5 for the next 4 months, and that's why I'm proposing that we move forward and make an appointment, and then staff will have the opportunity to get ready for an election, not only in March, but in May as well, because we will not be able to place an additional seat on the May election because we won't have declared it vacant until after the first of the year. So this is not only a March opportunity, but a May opportunity for anybody who's interested. The March opportunity comes quickly, obviously, with the county deadlines coming the 1st, 5th, or 8th of January. So I'm ready to vote.
Go ahead. We're waiting.
Oh, I'll vote on the paper.
Okay. All right.
So, do you want us to just vote and pass down?
Just pass it.
Oh, you need a pen?
Way to go, Bill. I got 2. I'll give you one.
Oh yeah, don't forget to sign. Did you sign?
Yeah, did everybody
Oh,
sign
yeah.
on there? Thank you.
All right, item 6. So you just want to know.
Okay, we still have a URA meeting, right?
That-
Yeah.
I'm going to be leaving after the vote and the swearing in.
So, council, just for the record, I'm going to have City Manager Gall read off each item. I'll tally the vote by council member for that particular applicant.
Okay.
So you want the name?
I know you're not
of
feeling
the
well, obviously.
Okay, this is not in any particular order. So Councilor Clark is voting for Beth Cook. Mayor Middleton is also voting for Beth Cook. Councilor Langer is voting for Dan King. Councilor Grant is casting his vote for Dan King. Councilor Butterfield for Dan King. And Council President Henderson is casting her vote for Dan King.
So you can go ahead and swear him in right now? Go ahead.
Well, we have to read it.
You need, yeah.
you have to read all that?
It's short, it's short. You're just appointing.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass it, and it has nothing to do with who won or who lost or anything like that. I just don't.
You don't
I'm
feel
not
well?
and I'm gonna give everybody my cooties, and I don't know if that's great or
Just,
not.
yeah, so the council president can do it.
Okay, and you were gonna swear him in? Sylvia's gonna swear him in.
I've asked the city attorney to do that.
Oh, okay.
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 So Council
And
President
congratulations
Henderson will
to Dan King.
Mayor,
The
are you-
council has spoken.
Mayor, are you going to stay for the rest of the meeting, or are you going?
No,
home?
I'm going home.
Okay.
Oh, there he is, okay.
Okay. Sylvia, you ready? Okay, pursuant to Sherwood Municipal Code, Chapter 2.04.034, Daniel King has received the highest number of votes and hereby declared to be appointed to fill the vacancy created by the resignation of Councilor Robin Folsom, term which is due to expire December of 2016. Dan King will be seated as a city councilor upon taking the oath of office scheduled for November 18th, 2014. Pursuant to the city charter, section number 32, the appointee's term of office runs from the appointment until the vacancy is filled by an election or until the expiration of the term of office if no election is required to fill the vacancy. The next available election is March of 2015. Okay. So.
If Mr. King is present, are you going to call him forward?
Oh, there he is. Mr. King, come forward, please.
Stand here so the mic. Okay.
All right.
I, Dan King.
I, Dan King.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
That I will support the Constitution and laws.
I will support the Constitution and laws.
Of the United States and the state of Oregon.
Of the United States and the state of Oregon.
And the laws of the city of Sherwood.
And the laws of the city of Sherwood.
And will faithfully, honestly, and impartially.
And will faithfully, honestly, and impartially.
Discharge the responsibilities bestowed upon me.
Discharge the responsibilities bestowed upon me.
As a city councilor of the city of Sherwood.
As the city councilor of the city of Sherwood.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
No, I'll get a clean one. Thank you.
Next on the agenda is council announcements. Councilor Clark, I know you always have a list, so if you want to, if you're ready.
I can get ready. Okay. All right. So because we haven't met a month, so I have a couple.
Oh, sorry.
So on the 5th, I wanted to just kind of talk about this a little bit because out on the board there is a notice. I went to the Love Incorporated breakfast, and if you look up on our board, just right outside in the main hall, there is a notice from Love Incorporated. This is a wonderful organization that I think anyone would see value in supporting and volunteering for. So I would just highly recommend it. It's a wonderful, I think that it's something that helps to support people in need in our area. And it's Sherwood, Tualatin, and Tigard. And so I just wanted to, we learned a lot, and I can talk about it later because we're kind of short on time, but there is a notice outside on our board, and I'd love for anyone to take a look at it when they're walking through City Hall. November 8th, I went to the Our Table grand opening. We have a brand new organic farm and also store. I hope that's not me. It's right on Morgan Road. It's just outside the Sherwood city limits and on the back way to Costco that everybody drives by, so you can't miss it. And they had their grand opening. It was tremendous. Hundreds of people went through. They have a pumpkin patch and they had a blueberry patch this summer, but they're going to be a fully sustained farm, and I highly recommend you checking it out because they have got some great stuff. And it's a full grocery as well. And they have organic beer and wine on tap. So very cool, really neat, really neat. Our Table is its name. Last Tuesday, as the mayor said, he and I attended the veterans event. Representative John Davis was also there. It was a lovely event, and I'd like to thank Roses for catering that with a great display of cookies. Roses today announced a new menu that they are kicking off that's going to have, don't be worried, lots of their old favorites. So the Reuben is staying, but they're also going to add some specialty pastas and just some neat new items on their menu. So go check out Roses soon and see what they've got on their new fare.
Gluten-free is.
Oh yeah, gluten-free, yes, and they're adding some gluten-free stuff too. So see, there you go, lots of neat new stuff on their menu. Last Saturday, as I said, I wasn't able to attend the interviews because I was representing the city at the One Tree for All program. It's a tree planting program supported by the Raindrops to Refuge and the Clean Water Services. Since its inception, they have planted over 35,000 native trees and shrubs in Sherwood. It's a great program that's all over. The sample projects that they've done is Woodhaven Park. That's where we were at. I think this was the third planting that they had done in Woodhaven Park, and they have really changed the landscape of Woodhaven. It used to just sort of be swampy as it goes over the side, and now it is a beautiful natural environment of the plants that would be here naturally, of the shrubs and different trees, and it's made a big impact. And you can see its little truck is still sitting over there as they're finishing it off. There were over 60 people that had applied online to attend the program, and it was very well organized. It was incredibly cold, and I didn't even know that you were supposed to plant at this time, but you're supposed to plant these kinds of trees and shrubs when it's freezing cold outside in November. Who knew? I didn't know that. So, I'm sorry. And the total number of community enhancement sites in the city of Sherwood, 24, which I thought was interesting too. And I just wanted to announce Thursday is the Main Street meeting at Rebecca Hall at 8 a.m. And I wanted to remind everyone to sign up for the Give and Gobble. Don't forget, I'm going again for the 12 gazillionth year. But it's a great event, incredibly fun. When the kids were really little, I volunteered at the Give and Gobble, so there are opportunities for that too. If you have little ones or you're not really a runner or that's just not kind of your thing to do a 5K or 10K, lots of opportunities for volunteering as well. They need flaggers. They need people to direct the runners so that they don't get confused because the 5Ks go this way and the 10Ks go that way. But it is super fun, and then it's on Thanksgiving morning, then you do not have to feel bad at all for eating a great, big, huge helping of pumpkin pie. So highly recommended, and all of the proceeds go to support the Helping Hands Food Bank. So all registrations are online this year, so just go give and gobble.
Oh, thank you. You know, I'd like to remind everyone, this is the first meeting we've had since the election, and I'd like to publicly congratulate Councilor Clark for her successful campaign, and Council-elect, I think, Jennifer, way back there, congratulations. And anyone else in the room? I guess not. But anyway, my congratulations go out to those people who won, and also I wanted to publicly welcome Councilor King aboard. I served with King many years ago. Seems like not so many, but I started counting it. It's quite a few. And so that's what I wanted to say tonight.
Councilor Meyer?
I think with respect to how late is it, I'll just defer any till later on, anything important enough, so thanks.
I have none.
You have none. Okay. Councilor King, do you have any announcements? I know that's kind of putting you on the spot, but.
Yes. I just want to thank everyone thank you. It's been a while. Thank everyone for everyone's support. And actually with the Area 59, I was actually on the council when that was all voted on. So I am aware of that. Anyway, I appreciate the opportunity to serve, and will do the best that I can, and I will be running for the election in March.
Thank you. Last night we had the Cultural Arts Commission meeting, and we had a full agenda, or they had a full agenda. Maggie Chapin, who's our new Cultural Arts Center Director, sorry, that's a mouthful, is very excited and has been looking at branding, rental rates, rental contracts, fundraising strategies, reaching out to the nonprofits in town, and looking at planning a grand opening event as well as an annual gala event, which will be a fundraiser for the center. So a lot of very exciting opportunities for the commission, who's sort of been on hold for many years, waiting for the opportunity to support a building and all the needs that come along with the building. So that is very exciting. And opportunities to write grants and name classrooms and seats and anything. If you can put a name on it, Maggie's going to sell it or offer it to you as an opportunity to help fund the center. Today I had the opportunity to attend a luncheon with the chief, and it was called Ignite the Light, and Chehalem Youth and Family Services is an organization headquartered in Newburgh that's been around for 44 years that serves at-risk and developmentally challenged youth. They have a boys' home, a girls' home, counseling services. They have job opportunities, mentoring programs, as well as a store where the young men and women who are in their care or receiving their services have the opportunity to work in a retail location and get some job training. And I don't know about the chief, but it was a packed house full of people who care very much about children. Their motto is, every child matters. And we had the opportunity to hear from the kids' choir. A young man got up and spoke, and he was probably the best speaker of the luncheon. Yeah, he had a couple jokes, and he seemed very comfortable being up there. So it was a privilege to be invited to be a table captain, and there were a lot of Sherwood people there. And why this is important, not necessarily in relation to YSAT, but children in our community or youth in our community who are struggling with substance abuse or abuse issues or multiple foster homes. This is where these kids go, because we don't have these services here in Sherwood or anywhere nearby. And I've had the privilege through John Dinese, who's one of their program directors and a very active member of the chamber here in town, to get involved. And I'm going to, because I worked in HR, I volunteered or made myself available as a volunteer to help kids who need help filling out a job application, going through a mock interview. And there are many, many opportunities to volunteer. And if you're interested, you just go to cyfs.net. That is their website. And it was, an opportunity for people to donate, obviously, and to donate their time and talents. And I think it was a great opportunity And I hope that I can invite people in the future. They do it once a year. This is a large event, and then every month they have an opportunity to go down to one of either the boys' homes or the girls' home and have lunch and learn about what they do, and have the opportunity to possibly volunteer. And this week, Tom Bessemer and I and Kristen Schweitzer will be going down to, we hope, finish purchasing all the furniture, fixture, and equipment for the community center. And you'd be surprised how much time and effort it goes into choosing chairs and tables. And but we want to make the right choice for the right price. And currently, I believe we are under budget for fixtures, furniture, and equipment. We still have some things that we need to take a look at, but we should be coming back to the Urban Renewal District Board with a contract, correct?
That'll actually be City Council, because that's coming out of the general.
Or sorry, City Council, right? Because that's coming out of general fund.
But I don't think we'll come back for a contract, because essentially it was
part of the building.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
it was authorized in the budget that was passed last year, so
Good.
we have the authority to purchase
Because
materials
that's
under that.
one less delay. And Tom, would you mind giving an update on the Cultural Arts Center, just briefly?
Well, they've made a lot of progress here in the last few weeks, but they had a long period of time where they weren't making a lot of progress. We've had some pretty pointed conversations with the contractor, and essentially they are telling us they're not going to be able to deliver the building until probably January 21st is the current date they're giving us. So it's way behind schedule. From what we can tell, although they haven't admitted to it, they had a couple of subcontractors that were arguing with each other and wouldn't show up on site, and they, for some reason, couldn't get them there. So I'm sure that's going to end up costing them some liquidated damages, but it certainly is unfortunate, and we've let them know that in no uncertain terms that we wanted this building up and running far before they're going to actually turn it over. So it does give us a little bit of extra time to clean up a few items, but I would rather not have to be being delayed as it looks like we're going to be. So, but other than that, the building's coming along great. They're going to start putting in windows here, I think, next week, and doing a lot of the outside finish work. And they've done a lot of work inside. They're starting to put sheetrock up inside on one side, and then they'll do the others as soon as the glazing gets in and make sure that it's dried in. So it's coming along well, but they had a long period of time where they were just not getting much accomplished, unfortunately. So,
Will there be another chance for council members to have a tour?
Absolutely,
If
yeah. So,
they'd like to go?
Yeah, I think, we don't want to slow the contractor down.
I know.
But certainly, the closer we get to finishing it up, the safer it gets, and the more opportunities we might have to let Cultural Arts Committee and other members go in as well. So we can arrange things as time comes up.
Okay.
And certainly new council members as well, so newly elected council members. So.
All right, thank you. Moving on to city manager and department reports, please.
In the spirit of time, I have nothing. I do want to remind Council President Henderson and Mayor-elect Clark that we have a 7:30 breakfast tomorrow morning in Hillsborough for community action.
Better you than me.
And Mr. Pesmer, I think you are going as well. So unless you have questions for myself or the department heads, I'd rather get to the URA meeting. So
okay. All right, I move we adjourn to the URA meeting.
Second.
All right.